So I want to get to China now because this is your expertise. So we want to get your thoughts on Chinese President Xi Jinping traveling to Washington, D.C. today after meeting with some of the biggest corporate names on the West Coast last night. President Xi promised to strengthen protections on intellectual property and clear obstacles to invest in China. After pledging to work with the U.S. to stop cyber crimes earlier this week, his comments come as details of the cybersecurity breach at the Office of Personnel Management gets worse now. Have you seen this number? OPM now says 5.6 million fingerprints were stolen in the cyber attack, which China is widely suspected of being behind. President Obama expected to raise the issue of cybercrime when he meets with President Xi at the White House. The question, of course, Sean, can we take Xi Jinping seriously with all of this, especially with it being widely thought that they are behind this hack?
Well, that's a rhetorical question, isn't it, at the end of the day, because the answer to that is probably no. I mean, the language that we heard on the West Coast was all the stuff that Americans want to hear. We're going to make it easier to invest in our country. Well, tell that to business over the last 5 or 10 years. We're, going to do a lot to crack down on intellectual property rights, theft, and cybercrime. Well, tell that to the Office of Personnel Management. He was on the West Coast to try to mollify an ally that he used to have, which was a U.S. business. U.S. business got China into the WTO by going to Washington and pleading their case.
Do you think it did any good?
It did a great deal of good in the 1990s and the early 2000s. And then China.
No, I meant the meeting yesterday.
Oh, look, to a certain extent, American business has to be there because it's he and the machinery of China is the gatekeeper to their profit growth in China. Whether they're sitting in the audience listening to this and just kind of internally shaking their head and going, oi, that's probably what was going on. And I think it's a cynical Washington that he walks into as well.
He needs to, put up or shut up, because, again, the actions of the government, the actions of the leader ultimately that's the most important thing.
Yeah, that's right.
In terms of how they treat American companies.
Yeah, our columnist Andy Brown, who's in China writing about China for us, makes this point that you're making, which is that there was expectation about Xi Jinping that he might be this kind of economic reformer that he said he was, and in fact, it's not turned out that way. He's not the Xi Jinping that Americans thought he was when he first came to the United States after.
What did you make about his comments on the markets? By the way, I was jesting when I said he.
No, you were getting to the truth. You were jesting, but
these little swings,
small swings of 60% in one direction, and the other, and market intervention by the Chinese, and ham-handed market intervention by the Chinese.
And I got to point out that Wall Street Journal article today about the revelation about the direct relationship between the Chinese military and hacking groups.
So this
Chinese-speaking hackers, direct relationship. I just encourage people to read it.
Yeah, this is on the front page of the Journal. This underscores a long trend. Mandiant, which is now part of FireEye, kind of revealed the direct connection between the PLA, the People's Liberation Army, and the hacking industry in China.
All right.
So China's hacking the United States, pretty much, is what it boils down to, despite what Xi Jinping.
If you're a weaker economic power, you're going to use everything that you can to try to get ahead, and that's what's been going on for the last 15 years. Americans shouldn't be surprised.
No.
All right, we got to